Thanks, Emily. Today we're talking about what to do when your student needs extra help outside of the classroom and the school resources just aren't enough. The Common Core curriculum has made headlines recently for its tough standards, and some students are still struggling despite all of the pressure put on them. Today we're joined by Karen Myers. You are from the Huntington Learning Center.
Huntington Learning Center.
Now, we're talking about the Common Core as kind of a lead into this because not only are students faced with a lot more pressure from parents with their expectations to do well. Now we have this whole addition to the Common Core, which kind of makes it like the stakes are just a little bit higher.
I actually had a father tell me, my child's going to kindergarten and I'm so scared. Instead of so excited, I'm so scared about what that's going to mean.
And I think for a lot of parents, you know, the things that they learned in school aren't necessarily the things that are being taught in the same way in school now. So how can a parent bridge that gap? Maybe a tutoring place would be the idea, right?
Well, I think, Matt, you got to remember that math is math, reading is reading, and those things haven't changed, but the way that they're being presented have changed. And for parents, information gathering, relieves stress for everybody. Knowing what to expect, knowing if your child is ready, knowing that can help you to start the process. But on an ongoing basis, parents know when their children are having trouble. They know because the child is upset or not enthusiastic about learning. And when that is the case, it makes sense to get some answers sooner versus later and letting it go on.
And I can imagine that the frustration that a parent is feeling when they can't help their kid with their homework can actually add sort of a block between the relationship between parent and child. It's
like you were talking about earlier about guilt. Parents have guilt. You know, I wasn't good in math, therefore how am I going to help my child? And now they're presenting it a different way. What do I do now? But realistically, if a child's having trouble, it's not dissimilar to your child being sick. You take your child to the pediatrician for all their well visits. Sometimes kids get sick. And when that's the case, it makes sense to talk to your doctor, or in this case, talk to your teacher, or in some cases, when they need a specialist, pursuing something like Huntington to just get them that boost. They aren't going to be sick forever.
Now, going to a place like Huntington, do you think that takes some of the pressure off of what we're just talking about? Maybe everyone could take a deep breath and get back to what really matters, right?
It does. It's helpful for a lot of parents. We evaluate children to find out why they're having the difficulty they have, and we take the time to explain it to the parents. In most cases, it takes about an hour to go through and explain it to the parents so that they feel comfortable and understand it. And once you understand a problem, then you can solve it. It's when you're fearful, you don't know why it's happening, you wish it would go away, you play a blame game. Whose fault is it? Is it mine? Is it the teacher? Is it the school? Is it Common Core? Versus just getting the answers. And once you do, solving the problem becomes, yes, a lot less stressful. The environment is very positive for the child, so we can start where the problem stems from and help a child not only to regain skills, but also confidence they've lost, and that makes everybody happier.
And another highly pressurized situation is when your student, your kid is prepping for the ACTs, SATs. A lot of students think that their whole life depends on this single test. How do you take the pressure off of parents and students for this one?
Well, the first thing is that a lot does rely on those tests, and you have a child who's been doing great in school, has an overall GPA that's great, they're in sports, they're doing community service, they come to the SAT or the ACT, and things don't match up. And taking the pressure off is, again, getting informed. We do free presentations to schools about the SAT and ACT, just know the test, but we also evaluate children using those evaluations, using those tests, help them to understand how they're being scored, where they need to focus in order to be able to maximize their score. And our average ACT student sees 4 to 5 points increase. Our average SAT student sees over 200 points increase. It's not magic. It's being informed and being prepared.
And real quick, for parents out there that maybe need a little bit more advice, they want to find out more about Huntington, what is your phone number?
The easiest thing to do is to call our 800 number, because then you can pick the location you want to talk to. It's 1-800-CAN-LEARN, or they can go on the website at www.huntingtonhelps.com.
And I love what you said about, you go to a doctor when you're not feeling well. Maybe you should take that same approach and figure out exactly what the problem is.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Karen, for joining us. But right now, we're